Well, I don't feel a whole lot like the main act tonight after the entertainment we've been fortunate enough to have, but I want to thank all of you for coming, and my good friend Sue Hovey for helping to put this together. And is Celia here tonight?
Yeah.
I saw her, there she is. You didn't leave. Celia helped with this, and my daughter Stacy, and it's been absolutely wonderful. In my mind, while I was being entertained here, I was kind of reminiscing about the times back in the 80s when my friend Sue and Carol Hughes and Carol Jones and some of the other teachers who were active in the teachers union decided at one point that we should probably take over the Democratic Party. So we went to a caucus that was choosing delegates from Latah County to go to the state convention. And somehow, I don't know how we decided, we dubbed me to be the one that we would elect as a delegate. So we barged in and talked about who should be getting the votes to be a delegate. And we must have been very persuasive because I was tied for last with a lady by the name of Gladys Bellinger, who has since departed. Some of you may remember Gladys. So the convention was in Boise, and I went there ready to be seated as a delegate. And what we had decided was that when we got there, Gladys and I would flip a coin and see which of us would actually be the one. So I got there and found to my surprise that Gladys had already seated herself, and she refused to flip the coin. So that was it. And I was complaining with her, and I can still picture her. She said, "Shirley, you haven't paid your dues." Well, she was right. I hadn't paid my dues. The teachers and I decided to go there and just, kind of barge in and anoint ourselves to have this power, and she wasn't willing to give it up. And I don't blame her because she had done a great deal of work that I hadn't done. And as a matter of fact, for some reason, my friends and I decided after we took over the Democratic Party, we were going to take over the Methodist Church. And I'm not really sure why we chose that, other than we had to walk by the Methodist Church on our way to the meeting that night. But given how well it didn't go for us with the Democratic Party, we gave up on the Methodist Church, which has been fortunate for them. But I have to tell you that now, I feel like I've paid my dues.
Yeah.
So I started in 1992 chairing the Latah County Democrats. One of my jobs was to recruit people to run for office. And as you know, for Democrats, that isn't an easy road to take. So it was always very difficult to recruit somebody to run. And finally, in 1998, I took the path of least resistance and recruited me to run. A little expecting that I would win, which I did. And that was the beginning of quite a few years for me in the Idaho legislature, with all of your help, of course. But I have served 7 terms, and this is my 14th year, and last year. John, where is he? Here. Do I have to give credit for being very patient through all this time, or kind of patient? And so he was glad to hear that this would be my 14th and last year in the Idaho legislature, until he learned that I'd be running for Congress against Labrador. So that's another path to take, and I think it's an important one. We definitely need to replace Raul Labrador, and the reason you should support me is that I'm the one doing it, and you don't have any other choice. In any event, being in the Idaho legislature for 14 years does constitute paying my dues, I assure you, because the Democrats are 20% of that body, We don't get our own way there very often. And believe it or not, well, I'm sure you can believe this, but many of the Democrats that are there with me are much more conservative than I am, which makes it another kind of a challenge. But I've enjoyed it after a fashion, and I've certainly enjoyed being the one to represent all of you. As a matter of fact, I did hear that there was some talk in scientific circles of replacing the laboratory rat in experiments with the Republican. And there's good reason to think that would work, because Republicans seem to multiply just as fast, but you're not so inclined to get attached to them. So it's not a bad idea. Well, so moving ahead from the Idaho legislature to Congress is kind of an interesting thing to contemplate, because I'm frankly very accustomed to thinking of problems that can be solved at the legislative level. And I am going to have to transition to problems that we should solve in Congress. And I'm sure that we could all think of some. First of all, we need to replace those far-right Tea Party characters that would obstruct any kind of problem solving that we would try to do. But let's think of other things. I think many of you in this room might have gone to the showing at the Kenworthy of Inequality for All.
Yes.
And you saw the issues that were raised there. I'm not sure if I remember the numbers exactly right, but I think it was something like the 400 most wealthy individuals in the country hold more wealth than the rest of us. And that's not what this country was meant to be. And so what are the policies that have changed us from what we used to be to what we are now? Because we need to fight back. And we need to reverse some of those and put us back on an equal footing where the middle class actually has opportunity. And we don't want to have that shut down as it has been. So what are some of those things? The total loss of power of the labor unions has been one of those things that has set us on the wrong track. And we in Idaho know the lack of opportunity that has resulted from being a right-to-work state. So that now we're second in the nation for the number of minimum wage jobs. And that's not the kind of state we want to be in. It's not the kind of state that we should be. And that's one trend that we absolutely have to reverse. When we look at the opportunities that people had some time ago, there used to be limits on the interest rates that banks could charge. And that gave people an opportunity to buy a home and pay it off and have an asset in their pocket that would serve them for the rest of their lives. And now look at what's happened. Back in 1980, the usury laws went away, and the big banks were able to set policies that would allow interest rates to go up and up and up, and have people's house payments go up and up and up, and opportunities go away, people go bankrupt, they lose their homes, and that is a result of not having regulations anymore that we were able to have at one time, and it's been our undoing. If any of you have not read Elizabeth Warren's book, Fighting Chance, please read it, because she does a very good job of explaining what policies have really been the undoing of this country and what things that we need to fight together to get our way back. If we don't think that can be done, I guess we can give up. But I don't think that's what we should do. I think we need to change those faces in Congress and get people that will fight for all of us. And I think that can be done So you look at one person who would like to run for Congress and win and get there and ask, what can you do there? Well, a step is to replace those faces that have been obstructing our progress and setting policies that are good for the rich and not good for the poor. Replace those faces one at a time, and we can eventually get that done, but we've got to have the hope we can do it, and we've got to fight for it. So that's one reason that I think this election is very important. Now, in the primary last week, I felt pretty good about the results for me because I got just under 82% of the Democrat vote. Now, Democrats are still lazy about turning out for elections, and we have to do something about that. But still, that gives me a place to start. And we know that Raul Labrador has been, he has been attacking the members of his own party, the more moderate members of his own party. And believe me, they're not pleased with him. And I see the opportunity to take our Democrat base, and believe me, I talk Democrat, and I won't quit talking that language just to try to get somebody else's votes. So we'll take our Democrat base, and they'll have a reason to be enthused, and we'll take those moderate Republicans that are very disenchanted with Raul Labrador and with the far-right Tea Party performance, and I think we can cobble together what we need to get this job done. But I can't do it by myself. Part of the reason for our getting together tonight is a fundraiser, and it's absolutely a horrible thing to have to ask people for money for your campaign. Today I made 100 phone calls. It took 4 hours trying to get people to support this campaign because I'm told I need over $1 million to do it, about $1.5 million. So that still will be far short of what Raul Labrador can raise with the Koch brothers and all of his friends. But I think if I can get close to that amount, and it won't be easy, but if I can get close to that amount, I really believe that I can put together a winning campaign. Because I believe that there's some point beyond which a lot more money can't do you that much good. You just need to get enough to do the steps that you need to take, and I'm willing to do those with a lot of work, and John willing to have TV dinners or whatever important guy has to have while I'm out doing this, but I think it can be done. And I think, though, it's not just me, it's all of you, and we have to think it's important enough to do it. So, I'm going to pause for a minute there. Another thing I might mention is immigration reform before I quit, because when Raul Labrador ran for office, he promised the people in Canyon County that if they would just help elect him, that he would work to take care of the immigration reform, the comprehensive immigration reform that needed to be done, and he totally backed out on it and has let them down, and I absolutely won't do that. But there are many good reasons for it, among which when you have undocumented workers who have come up here to try to help their families and do whatever they can to improve the lot of their families. And if employers take them on as undocumented workers, they don't have a lot of leverage because they're afraid to call attention to themselves. And that gives these employers the opportunity to exploit them for working conditions, poor pay, and all of that that's totally unacceptable. So just for workers' rights, we have to give those people a path to citizenship so that they can work and not have to be looking over their shoulders, worried about being deported, and also stand up for what would be reasonable rights for them in terms of fair wages and good working conditions. So there's a lot to do. I think we can get done, and it's a good cause. So, before I go on, I'm looking to see who I see out here, because somebody has to take my place in the Idaho legislature, and we don't want it to be a bad guy, we want it to be a good guy. And here's Gary Osborne, who's from be and support all those things. He's a little quiet, but we'll see if he can't learn to be a little more gregarious and assert himself. And are there any other? Oh, Paulette! Whoa! How could I look past my good friend Paulette? Now, Paulette just came 123 votes short of winning in the 2012 election, and we're going to correct that and get out those votes so that she will replace Cynthia Gideus in the Iowa legislature. I kept an eye on our good friend Cindy during the last 2 years, and believe me, she catered to the far-right Tea Party people, and occasionally she did something different, but not most of the time. So Paulette has the issues to run on, and I'm absolutely confident that she's going to win this time. And have I missed anybody else at all who is running for office? We really have some good candidates that are running both statewide and also in this legislative district. So just get out and it's all of our jobs to work together, get this done, and it's for the betterment of the state, of the country. And thank you so much for this entertainment tonight. I can't believe it. All of you, it's absolutely wonderful. You're going to do some more for us?
Yeah.
Should we take a little beer?